Looking at Memorial Cup memories and going back to 2013, I'm joined by Zach Fucale, the great goaltender of the Halifax Mooseheads. Zach, how have you been through all of this and your health and everything?
Health is great. Thanks for asking, RJ. Hope you're doing great too. I'm doing real good. You know, life is great. My little puppy, she's keeping me outside, getting me up early. So health hasn't been an issue around here, and having some good barbecue and enjoying life, man. Everything's good. How about you?
Dogs are the best. Everything's good with me. Nothing too exciting. Waiting for sports to come back. That would be pretty nice. Now, let's just quickly talk about your career path in case some people tuning in aren't aware. Of course, you had the great junior career with Halifax and another Memorial Cup with Quebec and drafted by Montreal. So what has happened since you graduated out of the CHL?
Oh, man, you can't make this up. I've been through a lot of teams. I went around a lot. I did my first 3 years with the Canadiens organization, but I was up and down and up. I did all three leagues for the first 2 years. I was in Montreal a little bit, then went to Brampton in the East Coast. And then the team moved in the AHL. They moved from St. John's to Laval, so I got to play, right back here where the rink is. And I literally live across the street where the Rocket play. And,
perfect.
It was good for me. It didn't cost me much of gas that year. And then I went to Brampton up and down a lot. And then after that year, I signed with Vegas, and then I was in their farm system, played in Chicago a little bit and Fort Wayne, which was a blast. And this year I changed spot again. I went in the farm team of Tampa, Syracuse, and spent most of the year in Orlando in Florida. So that was really good. It was a good time, great season. And this year it was a little bit different. I ended up finishing off in Germany. I signed a deal at the end of the year in the Dell. And I went there for a couple of weeks before they shut the season down and right before the playoffs. So, yeah, I've been through a lot of places. I didn't think it was going to end up going this way, but it is what it is. I'm happy with it. I'm having fun playing hockey and been in some awesome places. And there's no complaints on here. I get to play hockey, and I love it.
Absolutely. Well, you've always had a terrific attitude, even when we first got to know you as a 16-year-old. Are you thinking of staying in Europe, or would you keep that NHL dream alive?
Well, to be honest with you, the NHL dream is alive and well, but I think I will go play in Europe. I'm looking at that right now. I can't really tell you the details, but hopefully it's going to all work out. We're waiting to hear, the dates and, when they're going to start up. But the NHL dream is alive, and I love it. And I believe going to Europe and playing in the good leagues over there, it's going to help me develop better than just going up and down East Coast like that. So for me, I feel like that's good, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm excited. It's a hell of a challenge, and it should be good.
Well, good for you. We're looking forward to seeing what happens to you in the future. But right now, let's go to the past and talk about that 2013 Memorial Cup. What an amazing season for the Mooseheads. 8 losses in regulation time, all regular season playoffs and Memorial Cup combined. When you look back at 2013, what are the memories that spring to mind?
Oh, man. It was a wild year. And we could talk about the Memorial Cup and how it ended, but it's funny. The other day we had a Facebook Live with a couple of my teammates, Trey Lewis, Brent Andrews. We were talking with the fans, and somebody asked, what was the conversation like during the year about the Memorial Cup? And we said the same thing, all three of us. The Memorial Cup was never spoken in the room once. Nobody thought about it. Nobody looked ahead to that. We were just playing. And I guess we have our coach to thank for that, because he was keeping us focused, but never really mentioned the Memorial Cup and how we were going to go there or whatnot. And then it ended up going all the way to that. So during the season, we didn't mention it. We didn't really think about that. And then ended up that just materialized right in front of us, man. It was a wild season.
And your coach, of course, was Dominic Ducharme, who has gone on to be an assistant with Montreal. I guess there were so many things going on. The big three, you, yourself, Nathan McKinnon, Jonathan Drouin, all draft eligible that year. So just so much on players' plates. And we've talked to draft eligible guys. We've done the Kubota CHL, NHL top prospects game, and it's interesting. Some guys get distracted by it. Some guys try to ignore it. You can't ignore that draft year. And the three of you going through it together at the same time with such a good team. What was that like?
Yeah, you're right, because you can't really, you're right when you say that you can't escape it. Like, it's coming. Like, you know it's coming, but you know there's kind of that responsibility of the year right now. But for me, as a goalie, I work a lot with Eric Raymond, and Eric was just such a good, calming voice for me. He had gone through it. He had played pro in Europe and here and all that. And he was so good to me in terms of keeping me focused on now and guiding me through the process. And whenever I'd have issues here and there, mentally with my game, or where I was getting ahead of myself, I was a young guy, he would always bring me back. And that was my experience, because the goalie coach and we had a really good relationship. I can't speak for Nate or Joe, and I think Nate handled it pretty well, if you ask me. But as a goalie, it was a little different, because at least I had that guy that was with me, Eric, all the time. He was, guiding me through it. So he kept me grounded, and I'm grateful I had that guy. We still go on the ice now, 6 years past my junior career. So it was good for me to have that voice to guide me through it. Yeah.
Well, Eric was even great with us. He would talk and explain some of the things that you were going through, because it's not always great for the media to approach a goalie on a game day. So he would actually take some of that off your plate too. So it's developed from a goaltender, coach, and goalie relationship into almost a friendship.
Absolutely. As I got older, I realized the value that he brought me as a young kid coming at 16 years old. Like, I wouldn't be here without Rick. You know what I mean? I honestly wouldn't. And I don't know if I would have lasted 5 years in pro hockey, and I want to last 15 more. So without Eric, I don't know what I'd have done. And he would say that sometimes I give him too much credit. He's told me that too many times. But what I'm saying is, I'm just grateful he was there. And that helped my experience. And we won, and he was a big part of it. And Dom Ducharme, I learned a lot from him too. To this day, I still use some of his principles. So it's been great. It was a hell of a year. I don't know what else to say. It was just it went by so fast, and we didn't lose a lot, because we were just great. We were just a great team. Well,
let me ask you, as a goaltender, you did have such a great team, and you rarely let in a bad goal. But if you did you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I let in some pretty bad goals, RJ.
But did you ever get worried with that team? Like, you were so high-powered offensively that they could maybe cover up in a couple of games.
That was kind of the beauty of it, The beauty of it is, some guys could have an off night and we would still be fine. I had some bad nights, and geez, in my junior career, I had a lot of them. And I still do. But what I'm saying is, if I had a bad night, somebody else was picking up. And if Joe or Nate or Marty or Conrad, for example, in the back end, if they had a bad night, we were still fine. And that was kind of the beauty of it, because we were so deep. We were so deep as a team. Our third and fourth line could easily be a first line, I'm pretty sure, in a lot of CHL teams. So that was kind of cool to have that deep roster. And somebody had an off night, well, that's no problem, because we still got a chance. And if the team was having a tough night, maybe I was on, or vice versa. Maybe I was. Some nights we won 6-5 or 7-5, and that's fine with me. A win's a win. I don't really care. So it was fun. That's kind of the beauty of it. We have a deep roster. Someone can have a bad night and you're still fine.
Yeah. That the team was so fun to call games for, because offense and exciting, and some big saves in there. But you said you didn't talk about the Memorial Cup during the regular season. So you had the great regular season, finished ranked number 1 in the CHL. Then you go 16-1 in the QMJHL playoffs, win the President Cup. So now you're going to the Memorial Cup. So you really didn't talk a lot about it. Was there a lot of pressure on you guys going as the number one ranked team, and you'd been so strong, and there were really good teams you're going to have to face there.
I wouldn't say there was pressure, because by the time the President Cup was over, the Q playoffs were over, we were said, okay, well, now the real business, is in, because we did go 16-1, but people forget that against Rouen in the semifinals, I might be mistaken here, I should check my fact, but I'm pretty sure there were 2 overtime games. I know one for sure. Marty saved us. He had a hell of a goal.
Marty Firk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marty Firk. But there might have been 2 overtimes. Again, I might be wrong. Overtimes can change a series pretty quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, yeah, we ended up on paper, it was a sweep. But, one of those overtime goes the wrong way, and, maybe our record's not 16-1. It's different. And Bécamo, man, that was a hell of a hockey team. So those were some close games. So yeah, you look at the record 16-1, but there were some tough games in there. And then you go through that, and then all of a sudden you're at the Memorial Cup. That, yeah, we didn't talk about it, but now the real business starts. And we said, look, we already won 1 championship. A couple other teams are real strong. Let's go up to the challenge, step up to the plate. And again, the games against Portland, those were some tough games, man. Those are some tough games.
And everyone was looking forward to those games, because going in, the top 3 ranked teams in the CHL all won their leagues. So, of course, you guys in the QMJHL, Portland wins the WHL. They were ranked number 2, and London wins the OHL. They were ranked number 3. So there were no Cinderella stories.
Yeah, exactly. I guess there were no surprises there. But hey, if you remember, we lost to Saskatoon pretty bad too.
Oh yes.
So that kind of gave us a little jolt, like, hey, we can't take our foot off the gas here. Like, hey, we got to keep going. But it was a good time. Good time. Saskatoon was fun.
Well, let's go through those games just a little bit. So you started against Portland, which everybody was excited about, 1 versus 2. That was your first game, and you wound up winning 7-4. So I guess this ties into the next game against Saskatoon that you lost 5-2, only your 8th regulation loss of the season. But did that win against Portland maybe give you too much confidence?
It's possible. It's possible when you score 7 goals in a game.
Against a team like that.
Yeah, against a guy. If you look at their defense, they had Derek Pouliot, Seth Jones. They had some big boys back there. I remember we were saying, Jesus, they got a linebacker, few linebackers on their back end. But man, and then we scored 4 goals, and pretty sure it was Macaruth in net, and I don't know if he had gotten scored more than 2.5 goals that whole year. So again, and then we get scored 4 that game, so, and still win. So that maybe you're right. Our confidence was maybe a little too high, and then we got grounded again against Saskatoon, but pretty sure it went pretty well against London the next game.
Well, that was the thing. It kind of confidence against Portland, then you lose, and then it's like, okay, guys, let's pull up our socks. Was that kind of the attitude going into London? Because they were very good.
If I told you I remember exactly how we approached it, I'd be lying to you. But it's possible that's how it went down. I remember that Saskatoon game was kind of a wake-up call for me personally, and probably the rest of the team too. But then against OHL, there's always a little bit more. You want to give a little bit more between the Q and the O, because there's always a little smack talk between the leagues. You know what I'm saying? So it was a fun time.
So you got the bye straight to the final. And you had I think you last played on the Tuesday, so you had a few days off. Do you remember what you guys?
Maybe 4 days, maybe between.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit. And Portland beat London in the semifinal. Then you had the rematch against Portland again, which everybody kind of suspected. Portland was a powerhouse that year, and you got a lead against them, but they kept hanging around. Like it wound up being a 6-4 win, but you had an empty netter in there, and they just wouldn't go away. What was that game like?
Oh, I remember that there were a lot of momentum. Like, you're like, one moment you're like, okay, we're fine. And then the next one you're like, oh, geez, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at that time, there was no time for us to just think about it in the moment. We were just going. It was just going. And at this point, I don't know if it was our 80-something game of the year. We had played together for so long that there was a lot of trust between the teammates on our end. I can't speak for Portland, but there was a lot of trust on our team. And we knew that whatever the situation was, Dom and I mean, like we were talking about how deep our team was. We knew that whatever the situation, we could definitely go through it. Like, we would be fine in the end. And Dom always talked about, he used this analogy, and I keep using it now, like I was telling you earlier. Dom was always saying, you know, when you go to school, there's a test, right? And if you don't study for the test, you're scared of the question. You know, what question am I going to be asked? You know, like, maybe I'm going to know the answer. Maybe I wasn't. But there's one thing that was for sure is by that game, we were thrown all the questions. So we were ready, you know, and he always said, look, here you go. If you study, if you're ready to go, doesn't matter what happens, you're going to know the answer. I remember I used that, and I still do. And we were ready, and I guess we answered the call on the test, and we answered right. We answered the questions right, even with Portland's counter.
There were so many great players. You mentioned Conrad Albertshauser. You talked about Trey Lewis, who was such an important part of that team with so many superstars. He kind of had that reputation of a protector, and he was fearless in doing that. Stéphane Fournier, a little bit along those lines. Martin Ferk has gone on to a great pro career. But McKinnon at that Memorial Cup in 4 games with 7 goals and 13 points. Have you seen a performance like that since?
He took it to a whole other level, you know, and that's what he does. And he there was just nothing that was going to stop him. If we're just talking about Nate, there's just nothing. And there was always, remember that year, you remember this year, there was always a talk with Seth Jones. There was always that, you know, what is it? You got to think that he took that and he said, oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, just wait, you know. Okay, just wait. And then you saw the result, you know, that they speak for themselves. So maybe I'm just, this is my opinion. Maybe that's how I saw it. But maybe that's what it was in his head, you know.
Oh, I'm with you. It seemed like that he found an extra level, and as a draft eligible guy dominating on the CHL's biggest stage, it was really, really special to watch. One of the best seasons in CHL history. And when you, as a goalie, like even in practice against all these great players, like what was that like? Were you? I know you like to have fun, and you talk quite a bit when you're in there. So, you know, would you have a challenge with those guys in practice?
It got heated a few times. It got heated a few times. I won't lie, but it was good. It was good for me. It was a good challenge. You know, every day I was coming up against great shooters, great moves, and great shooters, and I guess that was real good for me to go through that. And as a goalie, obviously I was lucky to have those, because some guys won't have the chance to face that kind of competition during practice every day. Some don't get that chance. So I am very lucky in that sense. But I don't know what else to say. Then I got heated sometimes. You know, those guys they're snipers. They want to score goals, and they did. Trust me, they scored goals on me. But you know that sometimes, you know, when I did have the upper hand, they, you know, then they wouldn't talk to me for a while, maybe. Maybe, but no, man, it was good. It was a good battle for me, and it was good for my development, I guess.
And it works both ways. It helped you with the good shooters, and the good shooters having to score, and a good goalie, that makes them better as well. So iron sharpens iron. One other thing that sticks out to me in that 2013 Memorial Cup, Zach, so often the teams there are veteran teams, older players, but there were so many great draft eligibles there. 6 of the first 16 picks of the draft. So you got McKinnon, Drouin, Seth Jones, and then Bo Horvat, Max Domi, Nikita Zadorov. They all went in the first 16 picks. You went early in the second round. Well over a dozen players from that Memorial Cup were drafted. Obviously, you're not thinking of that when you're at the Memorial Cup, but when you look back now at all the great young talent that was there, what are your thoughts?
Like you, I'm going to say the same. We didn't know like that's how it was going to play out, but you look at the teams that were there and you say, okay, well, there's no surprise that these teams are here. Like these are some top end guys. And I just remember, just off the top of my head, I remember looking at the Portland roster, and their decor was just huge. And you're like, wow, it was impressive, you know. And now you look back and see it, but like, that was the level that we were playing at, and it's fun to be a part of for sure.
Well, it was definitely one of the best seasons in CHL history, maybe the best one I've ever witnessed. 8 regulation time losses all season long, 80-plus games. So it was fun chatting with you, Zach, and reminiscing on that 2013 Memorial Cup. Thanks, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was, I mean, I could talk about that tournament a long time. It was a good time, hell of a season, and it's a good time.